Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our final session of day 2 of IPCon. My name is Ryan Dunford. I am a product manager here at Miro, and I am very pleased to be joined today by my colleague from Untangle, Chad McNaughton. Chad, am I pronouncing that surname correctly?
I think that's close enough. Yeah, I think it's technically McNaughton, but yeah.
All right, but Chad actually joins us all the way from America. It's probably about 6 o'clock in the morning there, so he's got his fresh cup of coffee, but he told me how excited he was for our presentation today and how he barely slept a single wink last night because he couldn't wait to deliver extreme amounts of value through to the South African marketplace. So thank you for joining us, Chad. Like I said, everyone, my name's Ryan Dunford. I'm a product manager here at Miro. It's a great honor to have been able to present to you over the past 2 days. I know I see some familiar names in this participation list. I just want to say thank you guys for not being drowned out by the sound of my voice. I know it can be a bit much, but I think these breaks in between the sessions have helped. But I just want to say thank you, everyone, for just taking the time. And you know, your feedback is incredibly important to us because we want to bring as much information to you guys as possible. We want to empower you to connect communities, and we want to do absolutely everything that we can to not only improve your network experience for your customers, but also to, you know, encourage our working relationship between your supplier, Miro, and obviously yourself, the business. So without any further ado, I just will check the comments section here. Oh, we still love you. You're welcome. Oh, thank you. Such nice comments. Chad, I'm really, really excited about this. But everyone, we're going to be going into Untangle. So for those that don't know about Untangle, Untangle is our next generation firewall coupled with our software-defined WAN optimization solution. So we're going to be going a little bit into what is the structure regarding Untangle. How does it add value to a managed service provider, and exactly why should we be implementing layer 7 firewalls? You know, what type of value can it bring? How can it improve our networking experience, and how essentially can we add more value to customers on the downstream? So without any further ado, just some housekeeping rules. We do have an hour session today, so we've got plenty time to discuss and to go through everything. I will be opening the floor up to Chad, who was employee number 7 at Untangle. So we've got a long history there with Chad, which I'm very excited for you guys to experience. But I think for now, let's go through the presentation. You guys know where the comment section is. You know, you can drop any and all queries down in the comment section, but let's get straight into it. I'm going to unshare my screen. Chad, if you wouldn't mind unsharing your screen as well, and then our participants can view the presentation fully. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so protecting your network, a presentation by Ryan Dunford and Chad McNaughton, sales engineer at Untangle. Chad and I have just recently begun our bromance. We met, you know, about 2 to 3 months ago, just as I was given the product, and it's been a really enjoyable experience. I think the 9-hour time gap has been a fun activity for us to maneuver around. But essentially, at the end of the day, Chad and I have met up, we've discussed Untangle at length, and I think from Chad's side, it's been enlightening to learn more about South Africa, also about our marketplace, the behavior of our customers, and then from my side to essentially see how, you know, a top-tier American-made company operates, and just to kind of see where the differences lie, where are the commonalities, and where are the places of convergence between our two companies. And I think a big theme of IPCon this year has been development through the lens of ICT. I mean, we've come a long way from the first access point that our co-founder sold out of his vehicle. We're now, you know, a fully vertically integrated ICT supplier. You know, we are one of the fast movers of specific products. And from our own viewpoint, we've always been hardware specialists. But I think, you know, the coming of the digital age, the dawn of coding, it's allowed companies that maybe didn't have the capital flex to create a business model that is sustainable and one that they could actually grow, you know, without breaking the bank. And I feel that Untangle is that exact company. They're a very lean organization. They're very close to the ground. if I can say that. They're not a big corporate bureaucratic organization where, I have to request a meeting with Chad and then only he gets back to me in 4 to 5 weeks. It's not like that. They've got a very friendly, a very open, embracing culture, and very much like has been the theme of, all of the presentations, specifically of mine over the past 2 days, is that our vendor is here to help. We are one and the same. We are partners. We are joined at the hip. If there's something that I can't do for you, Chad will be able to do for you. And I just want to comment on the fact that that is a working relationship. That is how you grow a business. That's how you grow a partnership. You got to be able to give and take. And from our perspective, it's been a hell of a good start to the journey. And it's very nice to be able to expand our portfolio and to start venturing into, layer 4, layer 7 based applications, which is essentially what Untangle is. So enough about the background. As I said, Ryan Dunford and Chad coming at you hardcore. So we're going straight into the opening slides. So if anyone in the room is thinking, wow, these slides are so good and they look so great, I just want to let you know that I designed them. 100% end-to-end, they are all me. No, I'm joking. Chad sent this to me and I put a Miro logo in the bottom left corner. But ideally, we want to be able to replicate what our primary vendor is doing in terms of their messaging. And a big part of Untangled's value proposition is the minimization of cybersecurity threats. So just to give you a personalized example, Miro was actually held to ransomware at the start of the year. Somehow some cheeky boy got onto our network and held us to ransom. Fortunately, unfortunately for him, the data he was holding for ransom was useless. We just deleted the data. And at the end of the day, it was PDFs that were saved and all of that. But I guess it kind of posed a much bigger threat. Imagine if this cheeky boy actually knew what he was doing. Imagine if he actually had a desirable intention to not just offset your business, but to hold you for ransom. These people exist. And just from what I've experienced with my engagements with Untangle is that cybersecurity is a real big deal in America. And I think what we have to also take into consideration is that we are all interconnected. Just because we're sitting here in South Africa does not mean that someone sitting in America can't hack our systems. They can definitely do that. So we're not protected, we're not 100% safe. And I think the more we start developing our network infrastructure, the more high profile these cyber attacks are going to be. So if we start looking towards the middle of the screen, who are the big victims? So there's healthcare organizations, food and accommodation services, but majority of victims are small businesses. And the reason for this is that a lot of the time small businesses cannot afford network security at an enterprise level. So you've got a plethora of different enterprise brands that cater for large multinational corporations, and it's all very cool. But at the end of the day, the lifeblood of any economy is the small business owner. And from what we've seen, a big hindrance to small business owners' growth is, these malware attacks, ransomware, social engineering attacks, phishing emails, people just trying to take advantage. And I think at the end of the day, we need to acknowledge the fact that these people exist. They're not going anywhere. They probably have friends. And the best thing that we can do is to fortify our own network and to make sure that our customers' networks are secure as well. Because at the end of the day, we can't be the blind leading the blind. As long as we've got one eye open and we can at least steer our customers forward, then we should take on that responsibility. So, a lot of this research is American-based, but I think the big picture that it paints is the fact that no one is not subject to cybersecurity, or no one is security averse. At the end of the day, as long as you have an IP address, you're a target. And I think that that's essentially why companies like Untangle built themselves up from the ground up, is because they looked at the small business owner and they said, shame, this poor guy, he's got 1% of capital left, he's barely paying himself he's struggling to keep the lights on, and then all of a sudden his data is being held for ransom. I mean, that's also your sensitive customer information, your supplier information, that can be sold to a competitor. So competitors can hire these hackers, hack your network, steal your company data, get your customer base, know your pricing level, and basically just bury you. And Untangle said, no, we're not going to let that happen. So what they did was they created NG Firewall. So as I was saying, a lot of the cybersecurity challenges is that a small business owner often does not have access to the resources or the expertise to address all these threats. That is why the managed service provider became a business model. Now, a managed service provider in its build is essentially different to an internet service provider. An internet service provider, you're delivering internet services. So you're delivering an internet exchange gateway, essentially. But a managed service provider is that you have now taken the controlling services of a specific company and you are taking responsibility for it. So if anything happens to it, it's your neck, it's your liability. So it's probably in your best interest and your customer's best interest to just fortify your network security through one pane of glass. And this is where hybrid solutions just don't work out. You can't have a hybrid solution, or I guess the best practice is to not have a hybrid solution, because ideally each respective brand is going to offer you a customizable, tailor-made approach. And if you're constantly mixing and matching, you're never really going to get that full expose into what makes that brand so unique and so good. It's almost like if I hop into a car and I drive 30 Ks and I hop into another one, drive another 30 Ks. I only have that comparison of that 30 Ks, but what if I was looking for an endurance vehicle? What if I was looking for a speed car? So you have to compare apples to apples. And I think what we are comparing is the fact that a lot of our customers, the ones that networks we are managing, a lot of these guys are daunted by the complexity and cost of many solutions. So our holding company, Hudaco, just for everyone's information, is that during COVID, they did an IT risk assessment, and firewalling and software-defined WAN came up. And what was beautiful was that Mira was able to put their hands up and say, hey, listen, we have got a product that can help mitigate those threats. But no one knew anything about these threats. Like, business owners are not talking about cybersecurity threats at the boardroom table. It's a lag. It's a reactory. It's, we've been hacked. What are we going to do about it? And that type of behavior never puts you ahead of the game, because you're just reacting all the time. If you're constantly reacting, how can you be proactive in, again, minimizing the availability of that specific thing happening again? So data breaches cost small business owners a lot of money over the year, money that they could be reinvesting into their own capital infrastructure, growing their company, expanding, hiring more people. They're playing catch up the whole time. Instead of just putting it down, saying, listen, let's get the NG firewall. Let's make sure that our network security is solid and that we are secure in terms of our data, that it's not going to be breached. Introducing Untangle. So obviously this was all going along in the background, and as we were discussing, there have been brands that have done firewalling and that have helped big multinational organizations save themselves from data breaches that could have cost them an arm and a leg. But no one was serving the small business owners until a group of guys in America got together and said, hey, we're going to make a change. And that's essentially what they did. And then they said, hey, we need more help. And then they hired Chad. And then shit just escalated after that. Then it just cruised onto the highway and they went 200 miles an hour. So introducing Untangle, what is it? So it's a comprehensive network security solution for small and medium-sized businesses that is quick and easy to deploy, protecting your business and reputation. I think nothing sums up the brand better than that sentence. Comprehensive, meaning end-to-end. It doesn't just do OpenVPN. It does a whole host of different features. Security solution for small and medium-sized businesses, quick and easy to deploy, protecting your business and reputation. So how is it structured? What are the commercial sides of Untangle? Well, it's a subscription-based software. So in terms of the commercial side of things is that they do have a per month option and a per year option. Maybe if Chad can correct me there, but I do know that the quarterly option might not be available, but it's a subscription-based model aimed at just allowing you access to the command center on a monthly basis, very seamlessly, just as you would pay to have your waste removed, you'd pay to have your electricity done, you'd pay to have the domestic services. You are paying to have a comprehensive network security solution for your small and medium-sized business. If you want to go cheap, then cheap is what you'll get. And when it comes to data breaches that can cost you more than what your investment into the comprehensive network security infrastructure would be, it just seems like a very poor business decision. So when we think Untangle, we think proactive. We feel that by implementing Untangle, you are taking one step ahead of everyone else by protecting not just your business, but your reputation as well, because reputation takes years to build, seconds to destroy. Another very appealing feature about Untangle is that it can save you costs by leveraging existing hardware infrastructure. So there are three main types of deployments, is that you can purchase an actual Untangle hardware appliance, you can load it onto a virtual machine, or you can connect it to cloud services. And I think that type of dynamic deployment scenario really helps Untangle get out into the market very quickly and very effectively as well, because some of the other brands, when you're just able to put the software on their box, if we run out of stock of that box, we can't sell the software. You know, whereas with Untangle, as long as you have the necessary infrastructure, your integration with the software is going to be seamless. There is a very easy plug and play and setup deployment. Chad will be taking us through a little bit of a high level overview of the interfaces, so stay tuned for that. Multiple channels of support. Apart from having high quality readable literature available on the website, they have their own forums. They even have this very cool development portal where customers can actually go and bid for certain developments to be made. So they're very customer centered. Like I said, they keep their ears as close to the ground as possible. So now you might be requesting a specific development, but someone else has already requested. You can go and vote for that development, and should that development acquire enough votes, it gets looked at almost instantaneously, or the priority shoots up. So they do keep their ear on the ground and they listen to their customers so they can develop software that is perfectly suited towards the small business owner. And then multiple channels of support, that's me. What I mean by that is that your local partner, Miro, is able to offer support in terms of deployment, in terms of just general technical support, pre-sales planning. You know, Chad's been very helpful in offering, you know, to host sessions, but again, 9-hour time difference. Sometimes we can't all meet in the afternoon, but that should not hinder anyone within this webinar. You should be able to set up a meeting with anyone from Miro. Let's talk about comprehensive network security, and let's make sure that we understand why your business needs this, how we're going to deploy it, and what will it do for your business downstream. Proactive, actionable alerts, notification, and historical reports. Chad will go into that a bit further. Seamless transparency to allow you to have complete oversight into the monitoring and maintenance of your critical network. This is just their flex page. I love pages like this. If you've got it, you've got it. You know, what's the point of having a trophy if you don't flex it? You don't show it to everyone. I have trophies back from my under-9 soccer days when I was most improved, and they're still on my wall. And they're not going anywhere because everyone that knows me needs to know that I'm a winner. But a lot of what Untangle has done in the community has been, you know, received extremely well, specifically as a gold standard. And a lot of the time, remember, they are not new to the market. They're actually slightly late. But if anything, what their product awards show you is that you don't need to be the first mover to be the best. You just need to be the best. And I feel like they have done that. Their community forums are large, constantly growing, and they enable peer-to-peer support, which again, you know, for anyone that just loves networks, to be able to talk to someone who loves a network, it's good. It helps bond the consumer and the supplier. So that's really good. All right. So let's look at some of the products. That's a little bit of a dashboard. That's a watch the space. We're going to get there. All right. So Untangle NG Firewall. So what does it have? So obviously NG Firewall is a platform. It's specifically a software platform that's used to deploy your network-based security and policy applications. Now that tied into the plethora, now for anyone that doesn't know English so well, the load of apps that Untangle offers allows for them to inspect their traffic simultaneously to enforce the rules set off by the platform. And what we'll do is we'll just kind of show you one or two rules that will help give you a better understanding of the customizable approach to network security that a managed service provider can take. Lastly, we'll look at some of the reports. You get live reports, you get custom reports, and they're able to drill down on any specific aspect of the network. What's that IP address doing at that time on that domain for how long, and who's he sharing it with? And it just, again, allows us to create more insight into our network, because the more you know about the network, the more you know how you can improve the quality of a network, which again, if your network starts improving, then everyone downstream starts to feel the benefits of that as well. So some of the features, it's hard to put all of Untangle's features onto one slide. So what we've tried to do is to categorize them into their 6 major quadrants. So protection, connection, managing, filter, performance, and add-ons. So when you look at protect, intrusion, phishing, viruses, that's not going to make its way through. Filtering, we're going to be able to filter certain web-based applications. There is an SSL inspector. There is application control, ad blocker, spam blocker. So we're able to filter specific traffic so that the undesirable traffic does not reach its desired route. And again, oversight into the network creates more value, allows for you to perform a lot better. And what is performance? Bandwidth control, WAN balancer, finding the correct port distribution for WAN optimization. And we'll go a little bit more into SD-WAN coming up in the slides, and Chad will definitely give us a little bit more insight into SD-WAN. But when we start looking at the NG Firewall holistically, we're really looking at the brains being NG Firewall. So for our wireless broadband fanatics in the room, you can consider your firewall as your base station, your layer 7 base station. And what this device does is that it controls all of your policies from a central location, and no matter where you're pushing that, because essentially, ladies and gentlemen, this is the scenario. COVID forced all of us to start working from home, and the businesses that had the correct SD-WAN procedures and the correct firewalling solutions were able to maintain productivity without any substantial downtime. Now, what did this mean? So you can imagine that I'm sitting in the office and I've got my business critical applications. I've got my ERP, I've got my MRP, and I have Outlook. Probably the 3 main applications I use within any specific day. Now what starts to happen is that I don't have access to the company network. I am now at home on my own network, but there is sensitive information on the ERP and MRP system. Maybe not so much on Outlook, depends on who I've been mailing, but essentially I need to prioritize all 3 of these applications so that I can continue to work from home as if I'm sitting in the office. But then you might be thinking, oh, but my bandwidth at home is not so well, and I have lag and latency, and Untangle untangles that mess, completely just unwinds it, because essentially what Untangle will help you do is going to help you prioritize those 3 critical applications, so that if I'm connecting to the Untangle VPN, I'm connecting directly to the NG firewall, and what's happening is that I'm accessing the ERP and MRP systems through the VPN, but the applications are being prioritized, which means that I'm getting them full-time, real-time at maximum speed. So it has allowed the work from home force to not just be productive, but to increase productivity as well, because not everyone likes working at work. Some people have enjoyed working from home, and that's what we needed. We needed to manifest the office culture, and we needed to define it at the home, and we needed to optimize it. And essentially, that's what Untangle has helped thousands of people do around the world during this very difficult and turbulent time. And again, we're grateful. We're very grateful that we have been given an opportunity to not just run our businesses from homes, but to securely, safely be able to access company information so that we can maintain social distancing, so that we can respect the lockdown regulations, so that we can be, active citizens in fighting the virus and trying to get our economy back up and ready. And I think that with more companies that are developing a working from home culture, it's going to create a better working culture, which means that people are actually going to enjoy doing what they do, because they're not sitting in 2 hours of traffic every day, or sitting around coworkers that they despise just because that's who they are as a person. If someone can work from home, then they should work from home, as long as your productivity remains, as long as you're hitting your KPIs. And that's what Untangle does, is it creates the infrastructure for the home user to work as if he was right here in the office. And I think that's the major part of our presentation, is that Untangle helps create a working environment for the home user cost effectively. Because at the end of the day, what happened to the home network is that it just blew up. This theme has been constant throughout all of our presentations, is that one internet line that came in and was serving a family of 4 at one peak hour time at 7 o'clock at night, now is servicing a fully stacked home all the time. So bandwidth became scarce, and poor dad and mom are sitting there trying to do their work, and they just can't access their vital mission critical business application because their kids are streaming, so on and so forth. So they call their managed service provider and they say, hey, listen, we're really having a tough time with our kids. What can you do for us? And then the managed service provider says, ma'am, sir, don't you worry. We installed Untangle in your environment many months ago. Watch this. We're now going to regulate specific bandwidth applications. We're going to filter some of the traffic, and we're going to make sure that during 8 to 5, you, the parents, get maximum optimized bandwidth. And the parents went, yeah. And then the home was happy and everyone lived forever. And that is the story, inevitably, with investing in Untangle, is that you're going to be happy for the rest of your life. So support Untangle. All right, so how do we deploy it? As discussed, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to quickly tap back here. Okay, Chad, you're on it. That's great. Okay, I see that the chat box is going very well. Thank you for that, guys. Please feel free to continue engaging. Now, in terms of deployment, so these are the 4 main types of deployments, essentially. You've got a cloud managed on-premise gateway, you've got a virtual machine, you've got an Untangle appliance, and you have your public cloud deployments, and these run in Amazon's web services or Microsoft Azure. Bring your own license, or so I think the really nice feature when it comes to Untangle deployment is that it's easy to deploy. You just got to make sure that your specs match up, and it's very easy to get a quote from us as well. If this is for a new business, it's for a new company, or you're the managed service provider, tell us how many IP addresses you need, and essentially what we can do is we'll just set it up for you, and you can give it a trial. 14 days, you can let us know if you need any more time, but essentially from what we've seen in terms of these demos, 14 days is all that you need, and then you actually want to start learning a bit more about it. All right, cool. So Scout IQ, this is one of Untangled's proprietary based threat intelligence services. So what it does is that aggregates anonymous telemetry data from across the NG firewall deployments. So what it does is it acts as another layer of security against emerging threats. So it helps aggregates the data across all NG firewall deployments, and this is included at no extra cost, just in order to increase network security. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a trademarked feature and is patent pending. I might just need Chad to confirm that, but as I said, I'll open the floor up to him a bit later. All right, so when we start looking at management, ladies and gentlemen, we need a cloud-based centralized management platform. I don't know of any service providers, managed or internet, that does not want a cloud-managed platform that helps them not just auto-provision, deploy, but manage multiple endpoints. Sure, you can have on-premise devices, but in terms of scalability, is that really the smart decision? So Command Center, and I really hope Chad gives us an opportunity to just have a look at it, just so we can see what it looks like. But it allows for you to manage multiple site deployments, and it does include zero-touch provisioning. So essentially, you can just drop ship and not need to actually push any boxes anywhere or spend any money on provisioning independent endpoints manually. Command Center allows for you to receive alerts, threat history, and audit logs across sites. Again, Command Center enables a fast-growing MSP to manage growth and to capitalize on said growth by making sure that the parts of the network that start to slip are quickly fixed, and the turnaround time on those queries are managed as fast as possible. And that's what the alerting and the threat history does. The threat history is also nice because it can show you patterns. If there's a pattern of threat history, then you know that you're being targeted. And once you have that information, you just block that IP and you prevent that person from getting anywhere near your access. So helps you also manage your licensing, your software updates, backups, and more. What I really like is that it allows for you to push policies across your fleet. So what that means is that you can have multiple Untangle devices situated all across a specific region. And this is more suited towards a managed service provider having a large company on their books with multiple branches. And it happens, you know, I mean, some companies within our own group have got 27 odd branches. No one needs that many branches these days, but sometimes good old brick and mortar facilities, they hold fuss in knowing that having a physical location helps them sleep at night. So having one centralized platform enables you to create one policy that is then just distributed to everyone. So if you create one filter, one web filter policy, one threat prevention policy, you can then cascade that through to multiple endpoints, scattering all over a specific region, which is again very empowering and helps you manage your endpoints with Malwarebytes endpoint protection. So what's very cool is this SD-WAN architecture. So this is a very, very fun slide. So this is essentially how Untangle will be deployed within your network. Okay, so remember what we were discussing about SD-WAN. All right, so SD-WAN, when you think about, just think WAN optimization. That's what we're all about. You know, it's finding the correct pathways so that that endpoint that's connecting to core network has got the best channel, best bandwidth possible. So essentially, if we're looking at that example of one large organization with multiple branches, we're looking at deploying NG Firewall as the brains of the operation at HQ. And from there, essentially what we have is the opportunity to now allow the working from home culture. So from the NG Firewall, you can set up the policies for the independent VPNs for those that are working from home. But then you've got branches, all right? So now you've got mirror images of your company that need to reflect the same policies so that you guys can operate as one united front, essentially. So what we do is we put NG Firewall at HQ, and then wherever we have a branch. So again, let's actually use Miro as an example, because we're deploying Untangle internally. So we would put NG Firewall here in Centurion. We would then put our SD-WAN router in Cape Town, Durban, Nelspruit, Namibia, and Kenya. And essentially, we would have Miros mimicked everywhere. because whatever policies we're running at HQ will be cascaded downstream. And I think what's really exciting about it is that you can have a branch that's got multiple people in it. And what SD-WAN does is that it enables optimization of WAN. So now what happens is that you've got your branch that's connecting via VPN through to your HQ, and you wanting to push certain policies downstream. Essentially, it's a blueprint that is copied through to branch 2, branch 3, branch 4, branch 5. And all those branches can now have access to the mission critical application that enables them to do their jobs and enables them to remain productive. And sometimes what can happen is that you can have a branch that has got insufficient bandwidth. But again, through filtering, through prioritization of certain applications, you can push policies forward that say that the 3 most used applications, our ERP, MRP, Outlook, these need to have priority so that anyone that's connecting to that branch network has access through to that policy, through to that application in its priority line, which again, this enables a fast growing company to remain interconnected so that the branch doesn't feel like they're just an extension of. You are part of HQ, or one of our limbs now, because of how connected we are. So this is the SD-WAN architecture. And yeah, like I said, it's kind of very similar to an outdoor wireless or fixed fiber network. And essentially it is, ladies and gentlemen, this is just layer 7. You know, this is just happening 6 layers above a network switch and a wireless CPE. So it's very insightful. All right. So when we start looking at some of the features regarding SD-WAN, we're looking at cloud-based centralized management as discussed, application-based routing. As I said, you've got your priority-based applications. What also starts happening is that you can now gain insights into specific branches and like, okay, cool, are those guys working? Or are they spending majority of their time on YouTube? And how much data in terms of gigabits is being used for YouTube? Again, oversight into network allows for you to change certain policies, move some things around so that your network is optimized, so that it's running at 100% efficiency. And then lastly, the demonstration. So as I have discussed, there are multiple ways of testing Untangle. There's a live demo site for the NG firewall and command center, if I'm not mistaken, or it could be the SD-WAN router. But I will let Chad show us a little bit more about the interfaces. But if anyone would like a demonstration, we can assist. And demonstrations are what we always want to back, because what we've come to learn about the differences between hardware and software is the hardware is fixed. You know, you got a fixed CPU size, fixed RAM, and you can kind of gauge at what you're getting yourself into. But with software, you got to take it for a spin. And that's what we want to try and create, is an environment where demonstrations are easy, seamless, and productive. You know, we want to be able to make sure that you gain massive value from the demonstration so that you end up making a smart decision and investing in Untangle. But I think that's it for me for now. I see that the chat box has been going crazy. I love that. Oh yeah, Dieter saw my pie chart. Dieter knows I love pie charts, also love pie, but it's not really relevant. So if everyone, Chad, I'll open the floor up to you now, but if everyone can just have a look at this beautiful barcode, probably, in my opinion, the best barcode I've ever seen in my life. I want everyone to scan this barcode so that you at home can enter into it. It's not as easy as you think. You don't just scan the barcode and you get the price. You enter into the raffle, where I've designed a very high level questionnaire that's basically based on this whole presentation. So if you weren't listening, Hades. If you were listening, thank you for listening to me. I really appreciate that. And hopefully that is going to put you in line to win this raffle. So I just want to give everyone 10 more seconds because I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to hand over to Chad, and he's just going to take it away for me. So thank you, everyone, for your time today. I'm really excited to go and look at the chat box. I haven't seen anything, but I think what's important to, even in terms of the perspective of the chat box, is that we're a team here. You know, if there's something that Miro can't do for you, Untangle will be able to assist. You know, we're also learning the brand, we're getting to know it, and we're also starting to ask the right questions of our customers. You know, what is network security? What are your threats? What keeps you up at night? And it's not load shedding. It's also not SAA, surprisingly enough. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen. One last chance, scan this beautiful barcode, enter into a prize raffle. But thank you all for your time. I will now open the floor to Chad, and he will take us away. So Chad, I can see that you're busy in the chats there, but if you wouldn't mind just taking over, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, it's trying to share my screen. Do you see my screen yet?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. It's trying to show it to me too. We'll see if it does or not. Either way, I'm fine. So I was just going to go over a couple of, thank you, by the way, Ryan. Cheers. Good job. I was just going to go over a couple of resources here real quick. I'm going to go kind of fast over a few things. If you guys have questions, I've got the chat box open. Ryan, feel free to interrupt me with any big questions or anything like that. And feel free to play me off when we're getting close on time too. I need to hear the music when I'm getting close. So. On our website, I was just going to go over a couple of things here. Ryan mentioned our products, NG Firewall, SD-WAN Router, and Command Center. You can see them all right here. Deployment options, all of our appliance specs are online. Something I was going to point out, we got a question in the chat about throughput. And throughput almost always comes down to processing power. So when you have a little device like this one that we rate for about 50 IPs to be filtered, it's just a Celeron processor, and it has a bit of a drop-off, right, for throughput on the firewall when you're filtering with a lot of apps running. So I, here at home, have one of the Z6 appliances, which is pretty awesome. I got a 5-finger discount on it, so it's a pretty cool free setup I have. And I actually have it's an i3 dual core in this thing, and I have almost no drop-off on my throughput. So that's where NG Firewall throughput really comes down to, is the processing power. To answer your question, Boshi, yes, Siricot is integrated. It's part of our complete package and free package. So I'll show you. It's just a module that we offer. So there's a lot of solutions over here for different verticals. There's lots of information. Whoops, there we go. For different types of environments, if you're supporting, you know, dentist offices or government, you can go get a data sheet or a white paper just about that specific vertical. And then there's always awards, like Ryan said, and you got to have a flex page. So we just won a really cool award here a couple of weeks ago. There's a lot of them to go through if you want to. There's a lot of resources on our site. This is also where you jump into Command Center. So we'll get over there in just a second. I wanted to touch on something that I show to everyone on all the webinars that I host, and that's the statistics from Let's Encrypt's HTTPS page loads. What this shows you is basically the percentage of HTTPS encryption on the internet in the world. Here in the US, we're at about 93%. Globally, we're averaging about 80%. So as you can see, it's doubled the HTTPS encryption. We can thank Cloudflare for a lot of this. They encrypted about a third of the internet overnight a few years ago. But this is a really, really, really significant thing for content filtering, especially in small businesses. And the main reason I show people this isn't for seeing what your employees are Googling or blocking porn. It's for things like antivirus. So we'll get into that in just a second. I wanted to touch on the architecture. I got a couple of questions about this in chat. So on our installation guide, this is our wiki page. I'll throw this in chat here if you guys want to bookmark it or play around. If you click on our installation guide here, you will actually come down to a graphic that I think is a very helpful visual thing. So when you install Untangle, you run through a setup wizard, you tell us if we're the router or if we're bridged to a router. So we don't have to be your layer 3 router. We could just bridge to your Cisco and then be your layer 7 firewall, your layer 3 firewall, all that stuff. So in that bottom scenario, we're basically a second and third firewall. So Ryan talked a lot about why you need layer 7 functionality, especially a firewall at layer 7. And Untangle includes a layer 7 firewall, but it's also a layer 3 firewall. So keep that in mind. In that scenario right there, let's say that's a little Cisco ASA or something, the firewall. We're just the content filter and the traffic shaper. So we don't have to do DHCP and all that stuff. We don't have to be the router, but we're a very good layer 3 router too. That's actually how I have mine installed here at home in bridge mode. I have a little all-in-one Netgear, and I don't have any problems filtering. You know, all the software is the same in bridge mode. If I try to go to a site that I block here, like a web proxy, I block web proxies at home. I can get to the landing page of Stealthy, but if I try to proxy around it, you'll see my corporate logo. You've angered the cat. You can't go there. The reason is it's not allowed. But the details show right here that this is actually in my blacklist. So if you have my custom password that I created, very secure password, you can actually unblock this site for 5 minutes. That's a custom option in our web filter. So that's kind of what it looks like when you get blocked, but you can customize that, obviously. So that's kind of filtering without HTTPS decryption. I don't decrypt HTTPS here for filtering. I only do it for antivirus. I also wanted to show everyone our YouTube channel, webinars, all that stuff, cool trainings. I'm going to throw it in chat, and random interviews from me and my system admin. These are fun, goofy little interviews that we did for sysadmin day. Oh, geez, I'm wearing that shirt again right now. That's not a good look. Oh, well. So YouTube is a really helpful resource. Our support knowledge base is also a really helpful resource. These are all the support team's articles with good screenshots and things like that. I'll throw it in chat as well. Lastly, I wanted to get over to Command Center. So Ryan mentioned this. Obviously, this is our centralized management hub. This is an account that we have that's basically set up to look like a partner account. So these are live devices. You see I have 4 devices up here, 3 NG firewalls, and 1 SD-WAN router. So this is, you know, what they would call a single pane of glass if they were a marketing person. Excuse me, I needed coffee. What I call it, because I'm a technical person, is an aggregated dashboard, because that's what it actually is. So you can see here, I can get these spun around so I can actually make out the domains and all that stuff. So this is every host behind every device I have registered here, aggregated across 30 days. So the apps they're using up here, you can see SSL is the majority, that's fine. Reddit, Yahoo, eBay, CNN, that all seems super work related, right? So maybe we should go start digging and find out who's doing that kind of stuff. So we could actually do that here in Command Center. You don't really have to go into your server anymore to see what's happening on the internet. I can come over here to hosts. Ryan mentioned our integrations with antivirus products before. You'll see those here, Malwarebytes and Webroot and Bitdefender logos. So I could come down here to my VP of Products MacBook, and I could actually run an antivirus scan on that because she's integrated with Webroot. But this little device right here doesn't have anything on it. But it's a Mac. It looks like a MacBook. And let's see what they're doing on the internet. And there's our eBay person. So we found them. They're on Netherlands eBay. They're on Google. They're on policies.yacht. What is that? I don't even know what that is. Rover. Okay, so anyway, this person's not really working very hard right now, are they? So one way or the other, I could come over here to the summary. If they had signed in through my captive portal, I would see them right there with their username. So it's a really cool piece of visibility right here in Command Center. There's alerting here in the cloud. This is what I use Command Center the most for. I only have 1 Untangled device. So I don't have a lot of devices to manage like this here. So if I want alerts, maybe when the power goes out, I live here in Colorado, and we actually got 4 inches of snow 2 days ago. The day before that, it was 97 degrees. So we have weird weather, the power goes out, but if I'm somewhere else and the power goes out, Command Center can still alert me even though my Untangle is down. And this is also how we remote into these devices. Even an SD-WAN router device right here, I just click remote access, and I'm going to be launched into that interface. We want you to remotely access all your devices from Untangle's Command Center. I do not want you leaving SSH open on your firewall anymore. That's a thing of the past, okay? So that's a big gaping garage door open on your network when you have SSH or HTTPS on your WAN open. So as you can see, that was a pretty fast remote session. I'm in this SD-WAN router now. This is one of our big devices that is actually not available outside of the States right now. But you can come in and see top clients by bandwidth, who's chewing up the data. You can see interfaces showing jitter and latency, some really interesting things. But what SD-WAN router really is a VPN router. So as Ryan showed you, there's an architecture involved where we put these at remote sites, and we have one big Untangle NGFW hosted somewhere. I don't care where. You could send traffic from Cape Town's SD-WAN router to the Z6 in my closet here in Denver if you felt like it. So SD-WAN is a very neat new technology, but to be perfectly honest, when you look at our SD-WAN router, I try to tell people to kind of just take the term SD-WAN with a little bit of a grain of salt, because we're not really requiring an SD-WAN configuration. You can send traffic to just about anywhere. Ryan mentioned Untangle is a small business. That's why I like Untangle. He mentioned I'm employee number 7. I'm in my 6th year here. Untangle's in their 17th year. We are kind of in idea mode right now, and SD-WAN router is a direct result of that. So one time, can it be configured to send real-time alert if someone violated? Yes, absolutely, Boshi. That's one of the built-in rules. If someone goes to a blocked site or downloads a virus or anything like that, it'll alert you, and it can do it a few different ways. So Untangle is in, like I said, idea mode. SD-WAN router is the product of a survey that we sent out to our partners and resellers. Is this a cool product? Would this help you out? And so in places like South Africa, in the market there where the infrastructure is not great and bandwidth is expensive, SD-WAN router is a really, really interesting new device because it's cheap. It licenses very differently than Untangle NGFW. It's licensed by Throughput. And it is actually available with hardware as a service like some of our smaller NGFW appliances are. So you can actually rent these devices. And he mentioned licensing. We do monthly and yearly and 3-year licensing. If you wanted to set up something like 3-month quarterly license, you could maybe do that through your own MSP, partner stuff. That's your own billing is kind of up to you if you're a reseller. So that's kind of the SD-WAN router. It's a really simple device. It's a VPN router. I mentioned we do have a patent pending for the predictive routing. What that does is it just looks for an application and it says, oh, this packet looks like it's from Facebook. Just go there. So it does it. And it's really, really fast and really cool. So SD-WAN router is a really interesting product. It is kind of a specific use case right now because you're able to go in and put it out at your remote sites. Even a small business like Untangle, we're really widely dispersed right now because of COVID. I work at home. You saw, obviously, I'm in my home office. We are all working from home right now. My boss, the CTO of our company, actually just got over COVID. We were about to go back into the office. We have 2 offices here in Colorado, and his office had to be deep cleaned and shut down for another month. So we're all working from home and using VPN, like Ryan mentioned. I enable my OpenVPN when necessary, but other than that, we're a use case for this new kind of dispersed small business model. So even before COVID, we had remote workers. We have a team in Romania that does cloud development. We have a developer in France, an engineer. So even folks that just work at home like me, where there's a local office, we use the VPN here on Untangle. So here come more pie charts. I mentioned that. I'm going to go pretty fast over this. This is our demo server. Ryan mentioned, you guys can jump on and play around. I want you to kick the tires. I'll post this in chat if you want to follow along. We are getting a little close on time. Ryan, let me know if we need to wrap things up. Feel free to interrupt me, all that stuff. I'm just going to show up.
We've got 15 minutes left, so
go
for it.
Yeah. I'm just going to go over some interfaces here. Basically, I'll jabber while I show off some cool things. If anyone has any questions, just let us know. The pie charts, I think that Dieter mentioned, are actually kind of, I think, our all-star feature. There's just no other dashboard like this that you can find. You can see our demo server here is set up like a little school with a policy for teachers and students and student labs. So every group can have different filtering, different rules. But you can come down here and just real quickly say, these are the devices that are chewing up my bandwidth. And we can connect to things like Active Directory or Google, so you can have usernames there. But I want to see farther back. So the dashboard here can go back 24 hours. I want to go further than that. I can keep up to a year of information on Untangle, but on the dashboard, I just need to go back about 3 hours. Well, I click 6. That's fine too. So there you go. So they spin pretty quick. So suddenly, you can see over the last 6 hours, this device here has chewed up half of my bandwidth. And it's not a ton of data. You see 300 megs. But one way or the other, it's half. That's too much to me. So if we come over to this pie chart, top applications by size, it's weird how those look real similar to the chart over there. So I want to narrow this down to just this client. I'm going to try to get into a network detective mode. So I could add a bunch of conditions up here, but with Ryan, I call it my pro tip. just click in the pie. The slice of pie you want to see is the condition I'm adding now. So watch them spin, and now it's just 2.56's traffic. And there's our Google person. They've been on Google Play, probably downloading stuff. They're on Craigslist, CNN, let's see, YouTube, Facebook. And so now I want to go farther back than a day. I just click here, I pull it up in my reports, and now we can dive all the way down the pie chart rabbit hole. So you can click on things here. I don't care about SSL. That's not a real app. Google, not a big deal, HTTP. So this is a little bit better visual, I think, for what they're doing. I can also click the data view here to scroll through everything that wasn't enough data to present a slice of pie. These are all customizable. Maybe I want to see 25 slices. Maybe I want to add username conditions, pull from a different table. This is a minefield of rabbit holes that you can tumble down all day long if you want to. You can actually create your own custom reports here too. I don't use that much personally. I mean, we have so many reports by default. I just don't see a lot of need for it. Let me get rid of this condition here real quick. So the other really neat thing about the dashboard, obviously we have, report information overload. We're going to melt your face with information. But this is a really dynamic interface. Untangle is built on Linux Debian. We're on Debian 10 now. The kernel is called Buster. So it's a really small, really light piece of software. If you download our ISO to install and play around, it's not even 750 megabytes. If I were to do this on my mobile device, it would basically just look like this. I think that probably displayed correctly for you guys, I'm not sure. But it really doesn't care what you display it on. It just kind of scales to match the display surface. So it's a really cool interface, and we actually have some apps coming for Command Center for iOS and Android to make it a little more dynamic as well. So in the apps menu, I was just going to give you a quick glance here. These are all the apps we have. So Ryan mentioned earlier the plethora of apps. There is a full-blown plethora. I think a lot of people don't really think of us for some of the things you see on our screen, like virus blocking. I like to mention some of our partners as well. Like Ryan said, we're all on the same team here, and now you have Bitdefender on your team at your gateway. I don't want to replace the antivirus on your computers or phones. I want to complement it. Untangled is your tip of the spear for network security. Well, personally, I believe user education is the tip of the spear because there's no software that can stop a grown-up from clicking a link, right? It would be $1 billion a month if it worked. So Untangled is in front of those users. And this is the #1 reason I tell people to decrypt HTTPS traffic so we can scan files for viruses. If you use Office 365 and your employee downloads an MP3, I want to be able to decrypt that traffic and scan that MP3 for viruses, or especially something like an Excel spreadsheet. Those are notorious for malware. This is Scout IQ as well, and Bitdefender Cloud Scans. Scout IQ, Ryan described really well. It's a cloud telemetry data database that we created. So between Virus Blocker and Scout IQ, we're looking for 0-day telemetry data. And yes, reports can be exported. One way or the other, there's a lot of intelligence behind Untangle, whether you install all these apps or not. So I mentioned Suricata for intrusion prevention. We use Virus Blocker with Bitdefender. WebFilter is actually WebRoot. It's the Bright Cloud database. If anybody's curious, it's just brightcloud.com. They tell me there's about 33 billion URLs in our content filter now, and we can block HTTPS traffic without decrypting it. That's how I do it for wireless traffic, because mobile devices just have to be treated differently these days. So all these apps have their own reports built in. WebFilter has about 40 reports that you can get to right here. If I just want to see the top sites being visited the most, here they are. Others is always there, like I said, so just click it and get rid of it. That all looks fairly work-related, except this guy right here, cdn.cnn.com. That is the content delivery network for CNN. So someone's watching videos. Urbandictionary.com, that's not cool. So I would probably want to go in and block that, and I would block it with my web filter. Does the basic subscription cost include all the apps by default? For the most part, Dieter, yes, it's a complete package that you can subscribe to. So we do 1 or 2 a la carte apps. They don't tend to make a lot of sense. One of the only ones that makes sense to me is IPsec VPN. That's a good use case for like a different scenario than kind of Ryan described earlier with SD-WAN router. Maybe you need more secure connectivity between sites. Maybe it's like a financial institution, a bank with 2 sites. We would want to do IPsec VPN instead of SD-WAN router, because SD-WAN router only uses OpenVPN. Both these products are about to update to WireGuard VPN, which would be cool. But yeah, those apps that you see on my screen, this is our complete package. The answer to both of those, Boshi, is yes. So one way or the other, I think we can handle VPN scenarios that are coming up nowadays with remote work. As I said, OpenVPN is the easy way. We become an OpenVPN server. You deploy the client out. We can have people authenticate with that if you want. There's a lot going on, obviously. I want you guys to get on the demo and play around. But one thing I wanted to clear up before we get too deep into stuff and wrap up is the firewall app that you see sitting there. Because when we go down to the student policy, you're going to notice that firewall app is also installed into their policy, but other apps aren't. This is where Untangle becomes really modular. So my default app, Teachers, is basically what everyone gets regardless. But then if a student signs in, they're going to get routed into these different apps. If they're on one of the IP addresses that's in the lab, they get even different apps because those are using spam and phish blocker and more antivirus. So you'll notice that firewall is part of these policies, and it can be a modular thing. I don't have to run firewall in a policy, but I can. So what it's doing is basically looking at layer 7 conditions in the firewall app here, because layer 3 can't see things like country codes. So the firewall app is where I can come say server country is South Africa. I'm going to block it all. I don't want anyone on my network getting to Ryan's servers in Cape Town. I don't know why I would do that, but I could. So client country is a different rule, and that would be incoming traffic. So if I wanted to say client country is, Russia, it's almost election time here in the States. So I don't want any clients that geolocate to Russia to access my network. How many VPN concurrent connection? There really isn't much of a limit, Boshi. It depends on the VPN app that you're using. IPsec VPN may be a little bit more limited because of its security groups, and it's a little more intense. But OpenVPN, all that stuff, it really doesn't matter. It just comes down to your device. We come up against Fortinet a lot, Boshi, and Fortinet and Meraki are becoming two of our main competitors. If you're looking at something like the hub and spoke VPN, like Ryan described with SD-WAN router, we'll be able to come in probably a lot cheaper than Fortinet. We exist because Cisco and Fortinet and Palo Alto are too expensive for small businesses. It's like Ryan said, small business owners don't have the resources for this stuff. That's why we're in year 17. That's why I've stuck around at Untangle for as long as I have. For one, they're a small business, and I prefer to work at a small business. But two, we're doing a really interesting thing to me. I come from small businesses, and they need Untangle. They need a reseller like you. They need someone like Miro to go through to get them set up like this. It's kind of a cliche, but I say it a lot on webinars. Ryan's heard me say it 100 times. A small business owner doesn't know what they don't know until you show them that pie chart. So as soon as they see these dashboards and things that you can show them, to be perfectly honest, Untangle just sells itself. We do license all the NG firewall stuff by IP addresses. When you see our licensing, I wanted to mention that because it was brought up earlier. When you see our licensing, it will say things like up to 50 devices, up to 100 devices. When we say devices, that's unique IP addresses coming through the Untangle concurrently. So you can bypass things like printers and voice over IP. You don't need to filter everything, right? And so keep that in mind too when you're looking into pricing or when you're talking to customers about Untangle. We have really good ways to basically just show only the information they want for those devices and then bypass things like VoIP and printers and that kind of stuff. I mentioned the config menu. I'm not going to dive into this, but we do have a local directory. We offer those built-in alerts here. I wanted to show these here just a little bit since we got a couple of questions on them. So anything like we block a malware site. Someone tried to get to malware. This is going to email the administrator. Someone just pulled up the BitTorrent app on their laptop. Well, I need an alert about that, right? And so even something like that, I can automate because something in bandwidth control can tell me in a rule, I want to tag this user because they just pulled up the BitTorrent app. That's such a bandwidth hog. And in your region, I know bandwidth is scarce and expensive and all that stuff. You can't open the windows all afternoon because you'll let all the Wi-Fi out, right? So we can come in here and say, well, I want to throttle things like Windows updates because who cares? I want to prioritize things like IMAP and remote access. Here at my house, I have things like GoToMeeting prioritized. I have things like, well, I have my Roku prioritized so I can watch my movies and stuff and stream. But I have to ignore certain applications when it comes to decryption because I host a lot of webinars. So we're in Ryan's IP video talk platform right now, but I use GoToMeeting, I use Microsoft Teams, I use Google Meet, lots of things. So I have lots of different apps prioritized here through bandwidth control. So you can throttle, you can prioritize. I could say, as soon as Ryan logs on through Active Directory, I throttle him to 0.1%. That's a cruel thing that I can do, but I'm going to do it, and it's going to be the very first rule. So as soon as he logs on, he gets 0.1%. He's probably going to email me because that kind of sucks, right? It's kind of a jerk move on my part, but that's what he gets for, you know, trying to download porn all day. So you can do some really neat things like that. One of the ways I tell people to use Untangle in a small business environment specifically is you don't have to be Big Brother. You know, you don't have to block everything. You don't have to decrypt HTTPS and see what people are Googling just to change their behavior. When you go in and throttle things or block things, it can change people's behavior one way or another. Throttling, to me, lets me know that you treat me as an adult. I don't want Spotify to be blocked. You know, I work better with headphones on sometimes. If that's how you work, cool, you know, knock yourself out. But I'm not going to give you all the bandwidth because it's too expensive in our part of the world, your part of the world. That's basically the Untangle solution. We do have a lot going on. I don't want anyone to feel like this is the only time you can ask us questions. As Ryan said, we could always help out with a demo. If you have any questions, you know, Ryan can shoot you my email. We can hop on a call together, that kind of stuff. Does anyone have any questions, big questions? Ryan, do you have any questions? Anything we didn't touch on that you wanted me to show off?
No, Chad, I think that you've done an excellent job. And it's, again, one of the more appealing aspects of Untangle is that there's just so much. You can really invest a lot of time into playing around with the demo, playing around with the software. And that's what we want to encourage everyone in the webinar to do. I know Bochi has inclined that he would like to. You know, at the end of the day, you get to experience something new and fresh. So why not start off your day on a good note? Log into the Untangle demo server, see what you can do, play around. And, you know, if you're serious about it, then give me a call. And we can discuss deployments. If you want some more Chad time, like I'm always craving, then we can set up some Chad. You know what I mean? As long as Chad wants us to. But so far, he's been very helpful in that regard. But I think I'm very happy, Chad. I see Wilson says I've been using Untangle for years. I'm happy and that you have improved a lot. Well, that's very good news, Wilson. It's always nice to know that a brand not only delivers but develops as well, and that's a big reason why I wanted Chad to join us. Is that, you know, the local partner can give you a snapshot of where we are currently sitting year to date, but what Chad enables us to do is to just give us a little bit more of that product expectation. You know, he's spent more time around an Untangle box than anyone in our market combined. You know, so we should leverage off of that skill set. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that has joined us. I had a lot of fun. It's been a good end to my day. I know Chad's just starting his day, but
yeah.
But yeah, Chad, I just want to say thank you very much for joining us. We're gonna communicate with everyone.